Let's talk about the drama in Lost Ark. I think there's been plenty of drama. It's been kind of an up and down for them, recurring, like back and forth. Like they've definitely gone through a lot of learning phases as a publisher for someone else's game. I think they've learned a lot with New World as well, Amazon Game Studios. But this one, I think, well, anyways, there's some weird things that went on here. This one caught a lot of people off guard, and there's definitely some core issues that sometimes are unavoidable in game dev, but how you handle them is paramount. And I think this wasn't handled the best that it could. So we'll talk a little bit about what happened and why. I've spent, over half a decade in game development, so I can tell a little bit of insight on what's going on here. So let's get into it. Basically what happened, okay? This was the impetus for the whole system. In Lost Ark, they were in the process of transferring a progression system. So if you don't play Lost Ark, these are your skill trees. It's kind of like a talent tree. You affect your abilities in certain ways, and there are ways where you can upgrade these, right? So you can get these elements that modify your abilities and make them stronger. Previously, these were set on your gear, and then they were set to overhaul that system to be more universal. So they were moving what's called tripods, which is a progression system for your character, over to a more holistic system, which means that they would have to do some intermediate changes, right? You'd lose the tripods, the bonuses on your gear, and you'd have to get new ones in this new system. So it started with them wanting to notify players that this was going to happen. So it's perfectly innocent. Now what they do when they have big updates is they have, like most devs, they will have this little tracker down here in the bottom. You can see it's scrolling across the board. It just gives you a server message. This is from the operations team saying, hey, this is going on. And for like 2 weeks, they gave us this message that said, hey, your tripods are changing. So be aware that when you log in on patch day, which was this week, you're gonna have different tripods. So what they tried to do, or at least what they're saying they tried to do, is that they wanted to send a mail to every in-game character, and they do this a lot, where they'll send mail to your character so that you can see, hey, a big thing's happening. They sent you like a new soundtrack, like a new jukebox thing, and they'll give you warnings when you join guilds and leave guilds. Like they use the in-game mail system because it gives you a CTA, a call to action, that makes you click on it and read the mail. So they sent that out to all characters so that when they logged in, it would say, hey, by the way, your tripods are changing. However, apparently, they don't have the ability in-game to deliver mail to characters if that mail does not have an item attached to it, which is a little sus to me. I feel like this may very well be the case. I feel like I've gotten mail from system that didn't have in-game items attached to it, but they're claiming that the in-game mail system requires an item. So for them to send this mail to all players that, hey, your tripod, your progression system is changing drastically, be aware of it, to each character, not just your like one character. Every single character that you have on your roster is gonna get this mail. So all your characters, they're all gonna get the mail. They needed to have an item attached to it, which I feel like this isn't true, but maybe it is, and they did. But even then, that doesn't make a lot of sense because they said unintentionally, they added 10 fions to every mail so that it could be sent, right? And I feel like, one, if it is true that, and sometimes you get weird spaghetti code or you get strange interactions that make it so something has to work a certain way just because it's been coded that way, it could be the case. I feel like if you were gonna send something, why would you accidentally send fions? And I know if you're not a Lost Ark player, you're probably wondering, what are fions? So there's a ton, I mean, in Lost Ark, there's a ton of currencies. Fions are one of them. You can think of these as like a state and federal tax. It is a secondary currency in the game that adds a cost floor, essentially, to items that you buy. So when you go to buy a valuable item, and they choose what items have these and what items don't. So if I go to tier 3 and I buy this, you can see that this item here is it's the highest quality you can get, right? It is the highest rarity. So it's relic, which is the highest rarity. And it's for current endgame gear, regardless of what the stats are, right? This is being sold for 1 gold, which is the soft currency of the game that the currency that you earn on your character. However, not only does it cost the 1 gold, but it requires 25 fions. And they do this as a essential tax, right? So even if you sell something valuable on the auction house for very low amount, 1 gold, it still has the fion cost attached to it. So the fion cost is essentially the cost floor of every valuable item that they deem as valuable, right? So you're paying the gold value plus the fion value. And we can look at this. This is highly contentious. Fions are quite expensive. So you can buy these for blue crystals, which is like an intermediary currency between the premium currency and the soft currency. So gold and these royal crystals, you can buy these for those, which means you can buy them for gold. So you can buy 100 fions for 850 blue crystals. If we go to the exchange and we say we want 850 blue crystals, there's 760, here's 850. So 850 blue crystals, if you wanted to do it with the current exchange rate of 2,000 gold, it would cost you 18,000 gold to get that much, to get 100 fions, right? So you divide that by 4, that's how much gold you would add to the cost of that item that we just looked at, right? So you would look at this item and you say, okay, this is the item that I want. It's 1 gold. I buy it. It costs 25 fions for that, which is like 4,500 gold. So this item doesn't cost 1 gold. It costs 4,501 gold, 4,501, 4,501 gold, just because the fion cost is there. And they add this to cosmetics as well. So if you go to cosmetics, if a cosmetic item has been traded once, which means it's pre-owned or used, right? So if it says traded 2 times, I click buy. Not only does it cost the gold price, but it also costs the fion cost. So this isn't 200 gold, right? This is 2,000 gold. It's like 1,800 plus 200, 2,000 gold. So it adds a floor to it, and you can buy them for real money, right? So if you want to get those, so like over here, you'd be able to pick up the fions for real money. You can buy blue crystals for real money and then buy the fions, but it adds a floor to that. So essentially, in many cases for this game and this in-game economy, the fions are your greatest limiting factor. When you need to buy a full new build for your character, which requires 5 relic accessories and a relic ability stone, several usually, you need anywhere from 150 to 250 fions to do that, in addition to the gold price, which in some cases, the gold price of these accessories can get exceptionally high, right? You can pay 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 gold on top of the fion cost. So fions are very, very, very valuable, extremely valuable. So to accidentally send 10 fions per character to every existing character in the game to their mailbox is that is a very big mess up. And the thing that's here is rough, right? So like, I feel like if you knew that this limitation existed, assuming that it does, that you have to have an in-game item attached to your in-game mail in order to send it to characters. And I think their original idea of warning people that this change was coming was good, and they wanted to kind of get ahead of it and be aware of it. You could have sent anything else. You could have sent Phoenix Revives. You could have sent Silver. You could have sent literally any other item that can be received. You can send them like 1 Guardian Crystal, right? To send 10 fions, as that the choice, this is really, really bad, right? This is like sending every citizen in a country, $5,000 on accident. And then you can imagine what follows after that, right? You go to your mailbox, you get $5,000, and then you're like, cool, I got $5,000. This is great. And then you do things with that, and then there's actions that follow after that. So this is what happens after people log in and they see fions on their account. Shortly after the mail was distributed, our team discovered an exploit that allowed players to claim additional fions. And what this is when you logged in, like I said earlier, because the mail was sent per character, you could log into each of your characters and claim the 10 fions. So if you're like me and you have a lot of characters, I was online at the time, but you could have logged in and just claim. And they say later that some of the players, like a small percentage of the players, ended up claiming 70 to 100 fions, which again is like 20,000 gold worth of fions. So they freaked out. They're like, okay, wow, not only did we not mean to send these fions to everyone, people could get duplicates. And then you could also, every new character would get it too. So you could make a new character, collect the fions, which are account wide, right? So this these fions are shared across all your characters. It's an account-wide resource. So you can make a character, claim the fions, delete the character, make a new character, get the fions, delete the character, and just kept doing it over and over. And some people got hundreds of fions. So not only did they make the mistake, there was also exploits that allows people to just keep feeding off of it. So they freaked out. They turned the servers off. And this was like 2 days ago, right? So like around the time that we were getting ready for this, it was this week, they took the servers down. Servers were down in the middle of the morning for US East, and in the middle of the evening or early evening for EU, and the servers were just down. So they freaked out, shut everything down, and they tried to find a solution to fix it. So this is what they came up with. While assessing the situation, our priority was to bring servers back online without causing massive economic damage, which is pretty fair, further upsetting players by removing the valuable fions. So to accomplish this, this was their first solution. We unlocked the servers and chose to not retrieve the fions. So imagine in this case, right? You go to your mailbox, you get a check for like $2,000, you go and you spend it. And then they're like, okay, no, we didn't mean to send that. So they, you know, all the mails that wasn't claimed self-destructed, right? So only the people that went to their mailbox that morning got their fions. If you didn't go to your mailbox that morning, if you weren't logged in or you didn't claim it, it was gone. So they let the people that were on early, the early birds, keep the fions, no matter how many they got, even if they exploited, and the people that didn't log in on time didn't get the fions. And as you can imagine, no one liked that except the people that got fions, right? Because then it's like, now I was at work, or I was out, or I was playing a different game, or I didn't check my mail, and so now I don't get fions. So now I have this paradigm where I have to log in on time to get the information or get the items that I need. So after they did this, so like, you realize this is happening, and I was one of the people that didn't get it. So I was like, okay, this kind of sucks. Like, I didn't log in on time. Now I don't get free fions, and other people get hundreds. This seems kind of weird. So they say, we want to ensure fairness. We know the situation was confusing, and it was unclear to players how many fions they should claim and how it was exploited by others. Although we initially stated we would not take back any of the fions that were distributed, we feel that fairness means everyone receiving an equal amount of fions, which is true. This should have been the goal from the very get-go, right? I think in business in general, if there is a mistake on the side of the person who delivers the product, the business should be the one taking the hit. You shouldn't be punishing players for your mistake in general. I think that's a general good rule of thumb in PR across the board in all business, but also in game development. You don't want to punish your players for your mistake. You also don't want there to create this weird paradigm that moving forward, if you don't log in on time, you're not going to get this. And if you exploit it, nothing bad's going to happen to you. And you can do whatever you want as long as you benefit in time, right? So to accomplish this, we'll be removing the fions that players initially received from the mail and instead granting everyone 30 total fions. So if you haven't logged in already, make sure you go to your compensation, go to your product inventory. There should be a compensation product inventory that you get that had several items in it, and we'll get down to that here. It's 3 days of crystalline aura, 2 hope amulets, which allow you to do the new tripod system, the animal skin gift package, and if you didn't get it, you would also get 30 fions. So with this adjustment, players who previously collected and spent more than 30 fions in this instant will keep their purchased items, but may see a negative fion balance. So they said after that, okay, well, we can't let these people keep these fions. So we're gonna give everyone 30 fions. If you benefited from having 30 fions or more, they're going to subtract anything you had over 30 fions from your account. Like, you'll get negative fions because they can't unbuy the things that you bought. So they gave everyone 30, and if you had more than 30 from this time period that you didn't purchase yourself, that you got for free, they subtracted it. So some people who had more fions, right? So they just logged in and say, hey, cool, here's a cool event. Wow, all my characters have fions, right? And there's obviously people that were doing it for nefarious purposes. Of course, they were just trying to, exploit it as much as they can. I'm sure there was plenty of people that were also very genuine and honest. They just logged in and say, hey, each of my characters has this fion mail. This is pretty cool. I'm going to log in and get them all. Now I have more fions. Now that I can use the auction house more. So those people that got more than 30 got subtracted fions. So some people, a percentage of people in the game, logged in after they made this change and had negative fions, right? So if you had, say, 20 fions when this whole thing started, you had 10 characters, you collected 100 fions, you would log in after that second change, and have negative 80 fions, which means that if you bought 80 fions, right, like 14,000 gold worth of fions, you would be at 0. You'd be buying fions to get to 0 because you're in the negative. So again, a very poor experience for the player. And then they're providing compensation, right? So you have to claim this by December 31st. They gave you 3 days of crystalline. This is more than they usually give, by the way. They usually give you very little. But 3 days of crystalline, 2 hope amulets, which gives you level 4 of your tripod, and then a skin that's only by giveaway. There's no real way to get this other than events and special giveaways. And they apologize for the confusion and inconvenience that this situation may have caused, and hope the normalization and distribution of these fions can help make things a little more right. So that's the whole drama. I mean, there's several other pieces of drama right now. Like there's issues where if you had negative fions, you couldn't use the auction house. There's issues where there's a whole bunch of disconnects going on, where you get into game, you disconnect, or you get into a match, like a multiplayer match, like you go do a raid or a group and you disconnect, all kinds of other issues. I think those are kind of just as it comes along. But this was the big one. And I think the discussion that's worth having is what led to this? How did they handle it? And what would you do? You know, what do you think about it? So let me know what you think down below. Is this something that you feel like could have been handled better? I asked that openly just to be honest. Let you know what I think. I think that this was, I think that the big thing that people didn't like about this was how much they changed their mind on it, right? So they went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They didn't know what they were going to do. And then every step of the way when they made a change, the players were punished for it essentially, right? So you think about it like, you know, if someone comes into your shop, you run a storefront, and something is displayed as a price, and they come up and say, hey, here's the price tag on it, right? It's your fault for having put that item out with that price. They walked in, they saw the price, they interacted with the product. It's not really the person that walked in's fault that the way you were managing it fell down, right? So if you log into Lost Ark, you should assume that everything that's here, right? So if you go to your mail and say, there's something in my mail, this was meant to be given to me, and I shouldn't be like genuinely afraid to open my mail and interact with it. Like, oh, if I touch this, am I going to be banned, or am I going to break the law, or am I going to go negative fions if I touch this, right? So I think that's the thing that they need to address most urgently, is keeping up that player trust. I think they started with launch not maintaining that player trust. Through the summer and the early fall, I think they did an excellent job of getting that back. They started getting new characters out. They made the progression changes. They got content rolling out quickly. We're now getting more classes. I think all that stuff started going good. And then we started getting more drama again as we go into the holidays. So this is definitely a big drama point for Lost Ark, but let me know what you think, how you would have expected it to handle, and also what happened to you. What are you in one of those 5% players that had a lot of fions and you went negative and then you couldn't use the auction house? Are you one of the people that didn't log in and then didn't get the fions and then you had to go through whiplash? Or are you someone who just never even saw this at all and you just kept playing and didn't care? So yeah, let me know. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.